Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 18, episode 2, round 2 rather, in season 2. And this time we are at the Chinese Grand Prix as the event returns to the calendar. And I'm really looking forward to this. I've always loved this circuit, but before we get into qualifying, we're going to buy a major weight reduction upgrade. That will be on the car in time for the Portuguese Grand Prix, which is the very next round, so that's helpful. There is the R&D chart, nothing too crazy happening. Red Bull and McLaren finding improvements since the last round, not too much on our end. Williams at the bottom, at the bottom there rather, making some gains as well, but yeah, nothing too significant overall in the grand scheme of things, but we'll see as we get into qualifying where everyone stacks up. For now, we're just finishing our first flying lap, and we move on to the end of our second, and we'll see if these laps are good enough to get us into Q2. We should be able to find some improvement on this second lap, because the first lap wasn't very good. So as we come around the final corner, we will improve on our initial time, and that hopefully will be enough to get us through as we fast forward. Looking at the bottom 10 positions, you can see we're not there, so we're inside the top 12 at the moment. But as we go through, you can see on the results we're not in the top 14, so it's not looking likely that we got through. We're scrolling down, and no, we're knocked out in P17. Disaster in qualifying here in China, as our teammate gets through very easily, it's got to be said, but we're knocked out along with Matsushita in the AlphaTauri. They've really been struggling this season. The two Haas cars, the Williams car of Nicholas Latifi knocked out, as well as Giovinazzi. So Kimi Raikkonen doing a good job in the Alfa Romeo to get through, as well as Russell in the other Williams. But yeah, no huge surprises, I wouldn't say. But yeah, we're knocked out, so we need to do better in the race, because that's not good enough. So yeah, let's just get into it and see if we can salvage something from this weekend.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once more, a race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula One victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt we've got plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles an hour, with DRS assisting the cars down the back straight before they brake into the sharp hairpin at turn 14. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
From the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo and Sainz, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Vettel and Pierre Gasly, Mazepin, Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Stroll, Raikkonen, Russell, the Scientist and Nobuharu Matsushita, Bottas, Giovinazzi, Latifi and Mick Schumacher. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Well, that is interesting. Rain forecast for this race right at the end, at the 90-minute mark. There is rain forecast, so that could literally be in the closing laps. It may be a coin toss as to whether we put the wet tyres on or not, or the intermediates on at the end of the race. So that'll be interesting when we get to that stage. But the strategy to get there we're probably going to go on the soft tyres to start the race, and then stretch to the mediums until it starts raining, and hopefully they will last long enough. That is probably what we are going to do. So yeah, we're going to go now to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's a decent launch off the line for us. Let's see if we can do anything towards the first corner. We don't really have a lot of space to work with until a bit of gap opens up on the outside through the first corner. We're just going to try and keep the car around the outside, try and fill this gap that we found, actually gaining quite a few places there around the outside to the inside of the left-hander, and we're side by side with Mazepin, so we're probably almost into the top 10 at this point. Nikita Mazepin not qualifying too well in that Mercedes, which is the best car in the field. We switch to the inside, and we just get ahead of the Alpine car there, and managed to get up the inside of Mazepin. So slicing and dicing through the traffic, and we get ahead of Mazepin. Now we've got our own teammate in front of us, Yuki Tsunoda, who has made a decent start at this at the beginning of this one. He's in 11th position at the moment, so he's running fairly well, probably around where the car should be. We've already made up for the bad qualifying, so let's just hope that we can continue to push forwards in this race. We go for a big dive up the inside of Tsunoda into the hairpin. We back out of that one though. I don't want to do anything too aggressive against our own teammate, and apologies for the audio issues. That's just my Xbox doing its usual thing. But we go up the inside of Tsunoda. On board now with Tsunoda, he gets a perfect switchback as we go too deep into the corner, and he retakes the position as we now run side by side towards the final corner, and we're going to lift out of that one as well and let Tsunoda go, as we've held up Esteban Ocon there. And I think Mazepin was going to try and have a go at him, but didn't work out. Ocon now up the inside, bit of contact made there, and that's probably damage, looking at the angle of that contact, for Esteban Ocon as he tried to get up the inside of us into the second snail section. Thankfully the audio issues go away now, as Ocon made that contact. But anyway, we continue on, and we're still fighting away with the cars around us. Mazepin putting the pressure on. We're still behind our teammate.
Stopping this lap.
And it's time to make pit stops now, so yeah, we're going to do that. Hopefully we can get an undercut of our teammate and a couple of other top 10 runners. We are sort of responding, because there were a few stops on the previous lap. There's a few cars that are getting a bit friendly with each other behind us, but yeah, there are a few stops on the previous lap, so we're responding to those.
Okay,
and
stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Yeah, hopefully we can get an undercut on our teammate, who will probably be stopping on this lap. We've gone onto the medium tyres. I think softs were actually selected on the strategy, but if they were, we switched them around, because I want to hopefully take these until it starts raining later.
Yuki is in the pits. Yuki in the pits.
But yeah, now Tsunoda is responding to us and trying to block off the undercut advantage, as there's a yellow flag, and that's Valtteri Bottas off the road in the Haas. And what's happened there, he's just spun all on his own, having a bit of trouble getting to grips with the Haas car. That's nowhere near the caliber of the machinery he got used to last year, and almost took to beat his teammate. But yeah, unfortunately Bottas going for a spin there, and he wasn't too happy with the car in Bahrain either. Tsunoda's in for his stop, as you just heard over the radio, and now he leaves the box and rejoins the racetrack. Where are we in all this? We are behind him still, so he couldn't quite jump Tsunoda, but we are very close, so hopefully we can make the move soon. But Tsunoda doing enough on the in-lap to mitigate the undercut advantage that we may have gained. But yeah, we continue on, and as everyone else makes their stops, we should regain, I think, 12th position is where we were, and we do regain that spot. So yeah, we didn't lose anything, no one undercut us, but yeah, we are still behind our teammate, though. We now go for a move round the outside into the hairpin. Can we get this done finally on Yuki Tsunoda? He's very late on the brakes though, and forces his way back through, so it's fantastic defense from Yuki Tsunoda, and we just don't have anything for him overall. He's just got enough in the braking zones. Now we've got a good run much earlier in the straight, and this time we managed to sail past before the braking zone, and he slots in behind, and I think he's realized that we just have only marginally better pace, but it is better nonetheless. He lets us go, and we can continue on our way. So yeah, that is good. We can finally focus on the next group of cars. We're putting some pressure on Sebastian Vettel, who's been right behind Pierre Gasly for a long time, so it's made him very difficult to overtake as he almost runs into the back of the Frenchman, into the hairpin, but we managed to make the move around the outside of Vettel, and we get back to the racing line for the final corner, chopping him off a little bit aggressively there.
Great manoeuvre. You made it look easy.
A bit aggressively there, but
we're leading our teammate by 5.4 seconds.
Now we go for the move down the inside of Pierre Gasly. Can we get in there? Not quite. We're going to sit back now, try and make the move again to the inside, and we will get through this time as we head through turns 1 and 2. Pierre Gasly does eventually see us coming and give us a bit of room, but there was a bit of a light graze between us.
No need to worry about tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
But the car's completely fine, so no harm done. But yeah, Pierre Gasly did a great job holding up Vettel for us as we have a big slide on the exit there. We cover off the inside. Gasly's not close enough, and we can push on with our race. I think this is probably, where are we? P9. So this is probably the maximum we can realistically achieve. We wouldn't have the pace that Vettel has if it weren't for Gasly holding up Vettel for so long. And there's no way we can catch Norris and Perez.
Norris is ahead of you. The gap to the car ahead is 5.7 seconds.
And yeah, 5.7 seconds is the gap. We move on, and it gets much larger.
The gap to car in front is 6.9 seconds.
Yeah, 6.9 now. So the gap to Norris and Perez ahead is just getting bigger and bigger. So we're now just on our own, just sort of coasting along in this race, looking after the car, looking after the tyres, and just putting in the best lap times that we can to yeah, just try and hold this good position that we found ourselves in. So that is basically the plan for the rest of this one. But as we continue on, pit stops.
That's P6. You've moved up into P6.
The second round of pit stops begin for everyone else. We've moved ourselves up into 6th position as we head through turn 1 and 2. So we are slowly moving up. And no sign of the rain yet. There are clouds in the sky, but nothing on the radio as of yet about when the rain is coming. We move ourselves up into P4. I'm hoping these tyres will last until the rain comes and we can hold on to this track position when everyone in unison
rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
Moves on to the intermediate tyres.
11.3 seconds.
And that, see, it looks like that might happen because we're up into 3rd position. Now the rain is 15 minutes away. That's not much time, so these tyres will probably last until then. What is that in laps? That's probably... we got more radio, maybe?
P3, you are currently in P3. Hamilton is ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 11.3 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. Ricciardo behind. Our gap behind is 1.5 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. The gap to the leader is 15.8 seconds. You have 4 laps till your pit window opens. 19 laps to go.
Okay, so just taking stock of the race. I think on our current projected strategy, we're actually set to move on to the soft tyres at our next stop, which we are probably not going to make. But as you can see, Ricciardo gets a great run, and he blows straight past us. We don't really have any way of defending that. So Ricciardo's through, and we're off the podium. So that dream is extinguished as soon as it was ignited. Unfortunately for us, we could not hold off Ricciardo for any amount of time. But the next car behind us is Alonso. Now the Alpines aren't that fast. I think we could be able to keep Alonso behind if we really try our best. He is on much newer tyres, but I think we can probably just about do it as Antonio Giovinazzi retires with a mechanical failure. Unfortunate for the Italian, he will not finish the Chinese Grand Prix.
Looks like rain is inbound, and we're expecting it in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes till the rain. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
And the rain is only getting closer, as is Alonso behind. The gap is shrinking, but not by much. He's chipping away and just taking small chunks of time out at once, but he's not gaining at the same sort of rate Ricciardo was. Hello?
Grip is probably dropping due to wear, so don't be too aggressive.
And yeah, our tyres are also wearing, so
okay,
there's a lot to manage here.
Away from some rain. I'll keep you updated as the conditions change.
And the rain getting closer and closer, so I think we could be onto a winner here. I think the rain might just come in time for us to stay ahead of Alonso if we all move on to the intermediate tyres at the same time.
The gap to the car ahead is 4.2 seconds.
There's still 10 laps to go, so if it starts raining, there's still plenty of time.
The track is getting wetter. Recommend you stay out for now, though. We'll be much slower if we move on to inters this early.
Still plenty of time to move on to the inters later on, but now the rain has started. The track is just ever so slightly starting to get wetter and wetter. The sun is slowly disappearing. You can see it glaring through a bit there, but yeah, the conditions are much darker now than they were a short time ago, and very soon we'll start seeing the raindrops. There we go, right in the middle of the screen, and the visibility will very gradually start to diminish as we get deeper into this race, and the rain begins to take over. But when exactly we switch to the intermediate tyres will be the key to if we can hold on to this position. If we jump onto the intermediates too early, we will obviously be running them on a dry track, and that's just not going to work. If we jump onto them too late, we're going to get undercut by many cars, but let's see what we can do. Fernando Alonso is still catching us, and as we move on, he tries to go for the move around the outside into the hairpin. We're going to send it up the inside super late on the brakes. The braking on this car is fantastic, and we're able to hold off Fernando Alonso, and we stay ahead of the Spanish two-time world champion as we head through the final corner. Now still not making our pit stop onto the intermediate tyres. We're on lap 49 and 56. We are gradually running out of time. Are we just going to finish on these tyres?
Seeing cars struggle in these conditions. If we pit for inters now, we're going to be too slow and we'll burn them out. Make the best of it for the time being.
And it's still not time to go onto the intermediate tyres. Confirmation there, even on the radio. The track's just not wet enough, despite the grip definitely falling away. It's just not wet enough for the intermediate tyres to work, and we just have to keep fighting on the dries. Even though the track is wet, we go around the outside of Fernando Alonso and maintain the position again. But this fight with Alonso is really heating up now. We force him a little bit wide there, not too much. He was just out on the exit curb, and now Sainz has got to run as we head towards the first corner. Sainz sneaking up the inside of Fernando Alonso. We're going to try and block them both off as we head into turn one. It's very hard to defend from two cars, but as they're running side by side through the first corner, they should be holding each other up a little bit, and that should hopefully give us a chance to get away from them. Hopefully they can hold each other up to the point where we can just break free, and you can see that is happening actually. As we head through the first sector, they are running side by side, and that's given us the opportunity to create a bit of breathing space behind us. So hopefully we can just keep extending this gap while they fight, and that will help us out in to no end. Once the rain fully sets in, we'll need as much time as possible, because I have a feeling now it's going to be too late. By the time we reach the crossover point, we're just going to have to deal with it and run to the end of the race on the slicks, because it won't be worth the switch to intermediate tyres. So that is what the plan is for the rest of this one. As we continue on, Sainz goes to the outside, so he did eventually get ahead of Fernando Alonso. So he managed to overtake his fellow Spaniard, but we managed to maintain the position ahead of Carlos Sainz and hold him off as we now exit the snail section on what is the 52nd lap of the race. So there's really not a lot of time left in this one as we go very deep there into the second snail, as I call it. But we need to really focus on the exit out of this corner. It exits onto such a long straight, and it's a very awkward exit to get right. On this occasion we've done okay, but you can see how wet the track is. It is definitely time. Now on lap 53, surely it is time.
This rain could be with us for a while. Light rain conditions for the foreseeable future. Not sure whether dries or inters are faster. We're right on the crossover.
And yeah, it is the crossover. We probably should have put inters on at the start of this lap, but it's too close to the end of the race. It just isn't worth it. Even if it is time for the intermediate tyres, you're not going to gain the 20 seconds back that you'll lose by pitting. So we just need to try and hold off Sainz the old-fashioned way and just slide around on slick tyres if we have to. Just do anything we can to hold him off, because if we pit on inters, we're just never going to be able to gain the time back and this lot are definitely going to the end on the slicks. So yeah, it's going to be tricky, but we'll see what we can do as we head onto the penultimate lap of the race. We continue on to the second snail once again. This again is the critical corner, and this time Science is close. He's in the slipstream, running right behind us, gaining and gaining some momentum in the hole in the air behind us. We cover the inside, Science to the outside, as the intermediate tyres are still the recommended ones, but we just, it's just not worth it, especially now heading on to the last lap. We do manage to hold off Carlos Sainz once again, but we are really entering the closing stages now onto the final lap of the race. We don't need to defend for much longer, but look at this gaggle of cars behind. This is the fight for the lower end of the points. There are cars going everywhere. There are too many cars to count in that gaggle. That's the whole back half of the top 10 and then some. But now we head on to the final lap, and we do not have much longer to defend from Carlos Sainz, and we could be on the edge of a equal best finish for both us and the team. We're still yet to break into the podium places, but 4th place will be very, very welcome. So onto the final lap and through the first few corners. Once again, we're still just marginally ahead of Carlos Sainz, trying to focus on the traction here. Sainz to the outside as we try to defend and cover the inside line, and we do so, but Sainz making the move all the way around the outside and carrying a lot of momentum through the hairpin, but he's not able to get the traction on the exit, and we hold him off once again. But Sainz has just got the nose on the inside, and that's going to mean this fight continues as we head left now through the S's in the middle sector. The visibility very tricky here. Contact is made on the apex of the right-hander as Sainz didn't really see us coming on the inside. Didn't quite leave us enough room. We've got a bit of damage now to contend with on the front wing, but I think Carlos Sainz probably didn't get away with that scot-free either, so it is going to be a battle for both of us to keep our cars on the road. Heading into the second snail section now, we go deep, and Sainz is going to try and sneak in. Around the outside he goes through the right-hander as we go side by side. A slide on the exit for us, bit of contact with Sainz. He helps us straighten the car out, and now we put the power down onto the straight, waiting a long time to get to full throttle, but Sainz is so close behind us now. We've got no downforce on the front end. It's really hindered our exit there, and Sainz in the slipstream looks to the outside. He loses his momentum though as soon as he pops out of the slipstream, and in the braking zone we got enough in the tank to hold off Carlos Sainz, and that was the last major overtaking opportunity gone. As we now head out of the penultimate corner, Carlos Sainz has nothing left to offer as we sweep back across to the racing line. He can't pass us, and we are going to come around the final corner towards the finish line. We're going to finish in P4 for the Chinese Grand Prix, with Sainz pushing us across the line.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
What a battle that was with Carlos Sainz. Fantastic racing. Driver of the day as well.
It's a performance to be proud of from our Chinese Grand Prix winners today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
So it is Max Verstappen who wins the Chinese Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton finishes in second position with Daniel Ricciardo in third.
It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
I have to give it to the scientists. They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without losing pace, something that's a very handy skill to have in modern day Formula One.
Let's move on to the constructors. McLaren continue to increase their gap at the top. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, what do we say about that race? That was crazy at the end to be able to hold off Carlos Sainz and bring home P4. It's just a shame we couldn't quite get the podium, honestly, but Ricciardo was way too fast. We were able to hold off Alonso and Sainz after the rain started. Overtaking became a lot more difficult. Eventually DRS was disabled as well, which definitely helped us, but yeah, it was tricky to manage that one, especially towards the end, but anyway. The other aspect of that race, which I didn't actually mention, is the tyre wear towards the end. The rain saved us in terms of tyre wear because we're going so slow on the worn mediums. Obviously the tyre wear is a lot less the slower you go. If the race ran dry to the end, we probably would have ended up with a puncture or being very close to that kind of territory. So even though it didn't, the rain didn't come soon enough in terms of being able to switch to the intermediate tyres, it definitely saved us in terms of tyre wear on the mediums. So yeah, it was an incredibly long stint, but being able to gain that track position with that stint, I think even if the race ran fully dry, if we just ran longer in the first stint and just did a one stop in that way, I think that could have worked out as a decent strategy for us. So it's something to consider in future races. I said that last time too in Bahrain after we had to make that stop on lap 1, and then we still did we managed to do the rest of the race with only one more stop. So yeah, it's the one stops are good for track position on circuits where it can be difficult to overtake and or easy to defend. But anyway, that's enough talking about us. What about everyone else? Unfortunately, Tsunoda couldn't quite get points. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I think Nikita Mazepin was unable to score either in the Mercedes, so he really needs to get a move on because he's costing them dearly in the Teams Championship. Ricciardo doing well in the Championship though. He's in second, 1 point ahead of Verstappen. Hamilton leading the way in that one. Anyway, let's get into the interviews.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy. Did you struggle to get through all that traffic today?
It wasn't too bad really. We made a good start and managed to gain a lot of places there. Obviously it's the best time to make moves is when everyone's bunched up. Later on we made a couple of good moves on Vettel and Gasly, and that was it.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
There's no secret really. We just try to make the most of every race and try and optimize every result we can.
Did you feel comfortable in the wet weather today?
To be honest, I don't think anyone was. Slick tyres on a wet track is not a fun combination, but we had to deal with it for a few laps. It's the same for everyone, and we managed to just about hold on to the position, so it was alright.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Thank you, Claire. Alright, so that brings an end to the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. In terms of our rivalry, we continue to lead Lance Stroll 9 points to 4. Didn't see much of Lance Stroll during this race. I'm not actually sure at all where he ended up. But anyway, we bring in a bit of team acclaim. We're still on level 17, so getting closer to that final sponsor slot being unlocked. Unfortunately, despite the fact we actually passed the sponsor objective for XCR, we actually don't get the money for it. I think it's like the game sort of confused it with the Asiatic sponsor objective, which is 20 Constructors Championship points. The other one's just 5, but because we didn't get the 20, it's like failed both of them, I think. Not sure how that's happened, but nonetheless we didn't get any sponsor money for some reason. But anyway, let's not worry too much about that. And we have so much time between now and the next event to the point where we can actually do every single event, every single possible activity on this calendar. Next up, we're going for a minor engine power upgrade. That'll be on in time for the Portuguese Grand Prix. I mentioned at the start of the previous episode that I might be changing the driver suits. That's not going to happen. I had another one in mind, but I couldn't make the colours look very good on that suit, so yeah, we're just going to stick with the current one that we made at the start of the season. But we are going to change a few things about the car. We are lacking a few sponsors that had a few blank spaces on the car that I forgot to put the decals onto. So yeah, we're doing that, and you also saw there I changed the halo sticker back to the rainbow because I like the rainbow more. But anyway, there is the livery with all the changes made. Nothing too significant, like I said. It's just different sponsors and different colours on each one, just so they contrast a bit better, and just for a bit of consistency between the decals as well. So yeah, that is it. But
okay,
anyway,
we've had the new parts come through the fabrication process. We'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix.
we got a DRS upgrade there, so that will be helping us out in a straight line in qualifying and with your overtaking as well. Unfortunately, not much more we can do in terms of R&D at the moment. Continuing through the timeline again, we have 2 upgrades fail, one to the gearbox reliability, one to the rotor speed, which I think is a electrical systems upgrade, and we have 1 succeed. That was to the MGUK reliability testing. We're going to fix up the rotor speed upgrade, and are we going to fix the other one? Yes, we are going to fix the other one if we can still afford it. There it is. Let's see if we can fix this one up. Yes, we can. So we will do that too. Going through the timeline again, we have a personnel department event.
The personnel department needs some assistance to reach a resolution here.
Alright, what is it this time? We should consider sending Tsunoda on some media training. We can accept that will cost us $50,000, but will improve second driver acclaim by 1,000. Or we can decline and it does absolutely nothing. $50,000 is basically nothing, so of course we are going to accept, and well, I'll say we'll take the acclaim. He will take the acclaim, of course, but that will also help our team acclaim indirectly.
Thanks. I know these kinds of decisions can be challenging, but I think you made the right call.
So we continue through the timeline again. We get our weekly resources and running costs, and we also get a drag reduction upgrade to the front wing end plates. Unfortunately, we don't have enough resource points to do anything further in R&D, so we'll just continue through again. And as we do that, we get those 2 upgrades that we had to fix, as well as a pistons upgrade. But as we continue on, we have another department event, as Ollie's trying to talk over me in the background.
For the next Grand Prix. Could you take a look at this for us, please?
And basically the chassis department wanted work overtime to finish an upgrade. It'll decrease the morale, but it will give us a discount on a fairly expensive upgrade. This is actually a tricky one. Do we want to take the hit to morale? It's a fairly big discount, so yeah, I think we'll go for this one, and we will in fact go for working them overtime, unfortunately. So the staff may not be too happy, but you know, it's fine. They'll get paid extra.
Thanks for stepping in and helping handle that.
And it's another day, another failed upgrade, as our lightweight wheel rims upgrade has failed, but we are going to go straight in and amend that upgrade, and it'll still come in time for the Portuguese Grand Prix, so a few extra resource points, but not too much damage done. And now we continue the timeline once again.
We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for the weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
Why is Ollie always like one step behind? Like, I've already fixed that upgrade that just failed, and now he tells me about it.
The department needs some assistance to reach a resolution here.
Alright, so what's the situation? We've had some bad news from inside the team. A senior member of staff has posted an irresponsible message on social media about a member of one of our sponsors, and we need to stop the controversy from getting out of hand so we can fire them. That will increase our team acclaim, because that makes sense, and will cost us a whole bunch of resource points, which we do not have, or we can give them a warning, which will decrease our team acclaim by 2,000. Unfortunately, we don't really have a choice, because we don't have the resource points to pick the fire option. So yeah, we only have one option, which to be fair is the option I would have picked anyway. I'm not going to fire a member of staff because they posted something on social media. That's just ridiculous. So yeah, that is what we are going to do. I mean, who was it anyway? We only have like 12 people working here, so it's got to be one of you. Was it you, Ollie? Was it you? Of course it was. Far
Thanks
out.
for handling that.
And now for the final time we go through the timeline towards the next event. It's been a long kind of outro to this one, but we get our lightweight wheel rims upgrade. Now we have finally arrived at the Portuguese Grand Prix, which we'll get into next time obviously. But yeah, those lightweight wheel rims will help us out, as well as all the upgrades. There's a lot going on to the car, and it'll be crazy to see what everyone else has done in terms of R&D between the Chinese Grand Prix and the Portuguese Grand Prix. With such a long break, there's so much time to do upgrades, so it'll be interesting to see what everyone does between now and then. And one final thing before we end off this episode, we're going to purchase an upgrade to the personnel department, the fitness sensor. That will improve Sonoda's racecraft awareness and most importantly focus, and that will come into effect a little bit later in the season. But other than that, then there's not too much else left to cover, so thank you so much for watching. Feel free to give us a feedback in the comments, I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you later.